Hollywood's golden age is remembered for elegance, charm, and timeless stars, but the truth behind the curtain was far darker. Beneath the glitz and glamour lived a world of whispers, cover-ups, and career-ending rumors that followed some of the biggest names in showbiz history. These weren't harmless tabloid tales. They were explosive, disturbing, and in some cases, absolutely bizarre. While the studios controlled what the public saw, they couldn't stop the rumors from spreading. And the ones that survived? They're still haunting Hollywood to this day. These are 6 of the wildest, most insane secrets classic Hollywood never wanted you to know. Charles Laughton had a feces fetish. Charles Laughton was one of the most respected actors of his era. With unforgettable roles in films like Mutiny on the Bounty and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, he brought a depth and complexity to his performances that few could match.
And now today you've told us a new story entirely. The question is, Frau Helm, were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not in fact a chronic and habitual liar?
But off-screen, a chilling rumor followed him long after his death, one so disturbing that it still makes people squirm today. The story came from Scotty Bowers, a former Marine turned notorious Hollywood fixer who claimed to have arranged private encounters for dozens of stars during the studio era. In his controversial memoir, Bowers alleged that Laughton once contacted him to arrange for a male escort while his wife, Elsa Lanchester, was out of town. What began as a discreet visit quickly spiraled into something far stranger. According to Bowers, when he and the escort arrived at Laughton's home, the actor welcomed them in and prepared a snack, specifically a sandwich. But as they chatted, the escort slipped into the bathroom, and when he returned, something was different. The sandwich Laughton served allegedly contained the escort's own feces, and Laughton reportedly ate it with full awareness. The escort, disturbed and confused, gestured toward Bowers, signaling what had just happened. Bowers claimed he was horrified. To this day, no one knows if the story was true, exaggerated, or entirely fabricated. Laughton never had the chance to respond. But the fact that this tale continues to be whispered about decades later says everything. Hollywood might celebrate its stars, but when the cameras stop rolling, the truth can get downright grotesque. And yet somehow, the rumors didn't stop there. The next star's story wasn't just disturbing. It was cruel. Clara Bow's hidden life. Clara Bow was Hollywood's original it girl, the face of the roaring 20s and a silent film superstar whose charisma lit up the screen.
I suppose you know you broke up my home. I didn't know that you were in a home. When did you get out? Say, listen, you. And you.
She defined an era, exuding confidence, beauty, and sex appeal in a time when female independence was just beginning to take shape. But fame came at a steep cost. At the height of her career, a flood of unhinged rumors nearly destroyed everything she had built. Allegations so wild, so deeply personal, that even today they read like twisted fiction. In 1931, a West Coast tabloid known for its sleazy exposés published a vicious, multi-part takedown of Clara Bow's private life. The articles portrayed her not just as a reckless party girl, but as something far darker. According to the reports, she was addicted to gambling, alcohol, and narcotics. They accused her of sleeping with everyone from chauffeurs to fellow actresses to married men, often at the same time. There were even claims of public indecency, while threesomes with sex workers and alleged encounters with animals when no men were around, stories so vile they bordered on slander. None of it was ever proven. In fact, much of it was likely invented out of spite or envy. But the damage was done. Her reputation never fully recovered, and the relentless scrutiny pushed her further into isolation. Hollywood, which once adored her, turned cold almost overnight. Studios distanced themselves. Roles dried up. And Clara, once the brightest star in the sky, faded into the shadows. What happened to Clara Bow wasn't just character assassination, it was a media execution. And if they could do that to the most beloved actress of the decade, no one in Hollywood was truly safe. And next, a Hollywood icon whose childhood rumors were anything but glamorous. Joan Crawford had bad hygiene. Joan Crawford was the very definition of Hollywood royalty. With her elegant poise, sculpted features, and relentless drive, she transformed herself from a chorus girl into one of the most powerful actresses of the studio era.
You're trying to break up my marriage, you cats.
But get this straight, Mary Haynes. You can't stampede me by gossip or the drunken ravings of Buck Winston. You've got to have evidence.
But for all the perfection the public saw, a much darker set of rumors clung to her name, ones that painted a starkly different portrait behind the scenes. Her early life was riddled with instability. Born into poverty in Texas, Crawford's father abandoned the family when she was a child. Her mother eventually remarried, and that's where the whispers began. Some claimed that Joan's stepfather behaved inappropriately toward her at a young age. Rumors that, if true, hinted at deep trauma that would shape her fiercely guarded persona. But the speculation didn't stop there. When she moved with her mother to Kansas, a new rumor followed her, one so humiliating it remained part of the underground gossip mill for years. Townsfolk allegedly accused teenage Joan of being unclean, spreading lice, or crabs, as the whispers cruelly put it, across the city. No concrete proof was ever presented, but the allegation alone was enough to cast a permanent shadow. For someone whose image would later become synonymous with elegance and control, the idea that her origins were filthy and scandalous stood in harsh contrast to the image MGM carefully built around her. Joan spent her entire career trying to outrun her past. She reinvented herself time and again, maintaining a carefully manicured public image. But the rumors, quietly passed around like secrets at cocktail parties, never fully disappeared. In an era where perception was everything, even unproven stories could linger forever. And as you'll see next, not even a future president of the United States was immune to Hollywood's darker side. Ronald Reagan's lust for virgins. Long before he became the 40th president of the United States, Ronald Reagan was just another Hollywood actor chasing screen time and stardom. Charming, all-American, and squeaky clean on the surface, Reagan built a career on likability.
Jealous. Well, Jack Curtiz in person.
That's the trouble with you actors, Ronnie. No appreciation for what we directors do to make you look good.
Oh, Morgan would love to hear you say that.
But one disturbing account from his early years in film cast a long, uncomfortable shadow, a story he never publicly addressed, but one that left many viewers and insiders deeply unsettled. In the early 1950s, Reagan was cast alongside an 18-year-old actress named Piper Laurie in the film Louisa, where he played her on-screen father. But according to Laurie's memoir, their relationship behind the scenes turned strange and fast. She claimed Reagan asked her mother's permission to take her out on a date, which at first seemed respectful. But the night didn't go as expected. Instead of a typical dinner or public outing, Reagan allegedly took her straight to his home. Once there, he cooked her a bland, awkward meal, bragged about his bedroom skills, and eventually led her into the bedroom, where the situation quickly became uncomfortable. Laurie described the entire encounter as emotionally cold and physically underwhelming, saying Reagan seemed more interested in her inexperience than in any actual connection. When she showed signs of discomfort, he reportedly became dismissive and critical. The story sparked an ugly rumor that Reagan harbored a preference for young, virginal women, a disturbing implication that would haunt his image in later years. Though the story never gained traction in his political life, it quietly circulated among Hollywood circles for decades. Reagan, of course, went on to reinvent himself entirely. But this single chapter in his past remains one of the most unsettling allegations tied to his early career, one that still raises eyebrows even today. And now, we turn to a Hollywood romance that ended in mystery and tragedy. The death of Olive Thomas. She was young, stunning, and rising fast in the world of silent film. Olive Thomas had all the makings of a Hollywood icon, until one night in Paris ended everything. Her story is one of sudden tragedy, but the rumors that followed turned her death into one of Hollywood's earliest and darkest mysteries. In 1916, Olive met Jack Pickford, brother of the legendary Mary Pickford, and sparks flew fast. Within months, they were married. But behind their glamorous facade was a deeply troubled relationship. Jack was known for his heavy drinking, wild behavior, and constant affairs, all while maintaining the public image of a doting husband. Olive, for her part, was reportedly heartbroken and humiliated by his infidelities, which were regularly splashed across gossip columns. The marriage quickly fell apart, but Jack made one last attempt to win her back. He joined the Navy, only to be discharged dishonorably, and eventually convinced Olive to join him on a second honeymoon in Paris. It was supposed to be a fresh start. But instead, it ended in horror. One night, after a night of partying, Olive returned to their hotel suite and ingested a powerful mercury bichloride solution, medication prescribed to Jack for a venereal disease. Whether it was a tragic accident, a cry for help, or something far more sinister remains a mystery. Hours later, she was gone. Almost immediately, rumors exploded. Some believed she took her own life. Others whispered that Jack orchestrated the entire thing to cash in on her life insurance. Theories ran wild, but no charges were ever filed. Olive Thomas became Hollywood's first major scandal, and a cautionary tale. Her death shocked the industry, but the whispers that followed haunted it even more. And if you thought the rumors ended there, one more name still lingers in the shadows. Mae West had an abortion. Mae West was the original queen of shock value. With her razor-sharp wit, sultry charm, and complete disregard for what was proper, she dominated stages and screens alike.
Well, when I'm good, I'm very good. But when I'm bad, I'm better.
But for all her boldness, there was one rumor that followed her quietly, one she never confirmed, but which had the potential to destroy everything she'd built if it ever proved true. In an era when even speaking about certain topics could ruin a career, whispers began to circulate that Mae West had become romantically involved with a married man early in her rise to fame. According to gossip at the time, she became pregnant during the affair and later chose to end the pregnancy privately. The alleged abortion, if made public, would have been catastrophic, not just for her career, but for her freedom. Women had been imprisoned for less. Mae never addressed the claims directly. She didn't deny them, but she didn't confirm them either. And that silence only fueled the speculation. Critics claimed it was proof she had something to hide. Supporters insisted it was nobody's business. Either way, the rumor became one of the few stains that clung to her otherwise bulletproof image. What made it so potent was how deeply it clashed with the persona she'd carefully crafted. Mae West was brash, independent, and seemingly untouchable. But this story hinted at vulnerability, a side of her the world never saw. And perhaps that's why the rumor never went away. It humanized her, but it also threatened to undo the myth she worked so hard to build. Despite the whispers, Mae didn't just survive, she thrived. But the story remained buried beneath the glamour, a final reminder that even Hollywood's boldest legends had secrets the world wasn't ready to hear. When we think of classic Hollywood, we think of elegance, sophistication, and larger-than-life stars who seemed almost superhuman. The gowns, the red carpets, the black and white portraits, they all painted a picture of a perfect world, one where beauty and talent triumphed and the spotlight only ever glowed. But beneath that surface was something much colder, much more calculated. Something Hollywood never wanted you to see. Because for every award won and every headline praising a new starlet, there were whispers behind closed doors. Whispers of betrayal, of shame, of secrets too dark to print, at least back then. These weren't just harmless rumors or gossip column filler. They were weapons. Sometimes aimed by rivals, sometimes by the press, and sometimes by the very studios that built these stars up in the first place. And when those rumors hit their mark, they didn't just bruise reputations, they destroyed lives. Take Clara Bow. The it girl of the silent era, reduced to nothing more than a laundry list of grotesque lies, exaggerated and printed over and over until even the truth couldn't survive. She became a cautionary tale, not for her behavior, but for how quickly Hollywood could turn its golden children into tabloid monsters. Or look at Olive Thomas, young, radiant, and dead under mysterious circumstances. She should have been remembered for her talent. Instead, she's remembered for a bottle of poison, a trail of suspicions, and a husband who never had to answer a single question. And what about the ones who lived? Joan Crawford spent decades trying to outrun stories from her childhood that painted her as dirty, unstable, and unworthy. Ronald Reagan built an empire of likability, but that didn't erase what Piper Laurie claimed about their uncomfortable date. Even Charles Laughton, revered for his talent, couldn't escape the rumors of bizarre fetishes that continue to follow his name in hushed tones. Then there's Mae West, a woman who seemed untouchable, unshakable, and completely in control. But even she wasn't immune. Even she had whispers lurking in the background, whispers that could have ended her career in an instant if they'd ever been confirmed. That's what makes these stories so chilling. It wasn't about guilt or innocence. It was about perception. about how quickly the public could turn, and how rarely they ever turned back. The sad truth is, many of these rumors may never be proven. Some were likely exaggerated, twisted over time, or invented outright. Others may be closer to the truth than anyone was willing to admit. But the fact that they survived all these decades says something deeper. It says that behind the bright lights and perfect images, people always sensed that something wasn't quite right. That the machine that produced these stars was too perfect, too curated, to be real. Classic Hollywood wasn't just about telling stories. It was about creating myths. And like all myths, the cracks eventually started to show. The public wanted stars to be flawless, until they didn't. And once the shine started to wear off, those same stars who were once worshipped became fair game. Their pasts, their bodies, their choices, it was all up for grabs. And often, there was no coming back from it. But here's the irony. These stories, as dark as they are part of why we still talk about these stars today. Not just because of how they lived, but because of what they endured. The scandals. The betrayals. The weight of being perfect in an industry built on lies. They weren't just actors. They were survivors of a system that chewed people up and spit them out for sport. So the next time you see a vintage Hollywood poster, a black and white film, or a glamorous red carpet shot from the 1930s, take a second look. There's always more going on in the shadows. And sometimes, what you don't see is far more telling than what's in the spotlight.